Hello? Can you guys hear us? Let's see if they can hear us.
Let's see.
That sounds fun. Somebody said yes. Oh, we got a commercial. Always awesome commercials. So this Twitch thing is like totally taking over live stream, by the way.
Oh yeah,
long
definitely.
long are the live stream days. I miss live stream, man. Live stream was so much fun. Like when I
It
first
was
uh-huh.
it was a more tight knit community, I suppose, and it was definitely painful for me to leave after so many years. But it was just the video quality, man. You can't beat Twitch.
Yeah. Yeah, that sucks. So, oh well, it happened, so we'll figure it out. But I don't know. I don't like the fancy, like, the whole fancy Twitch thing. Like, I'm kind of a simple guy. I liked
Yeah,
I liked how live stream was just like simple and just easy. But
but yeah, I mean, if you remember, you had to use like a version of the broadcaster that was a couple of years old just to have it work.
yeah, because of that new update they did was horrible.
Yeah.
All right, so hey guys, what's up? We're here live with Christian, and I've always had a I've always had a hard. Remember, I was asking you one time, like, how do you pronounce your last name, dude? Like for the longest time. And if I
Right,
remember,
yeah.
it's Chihaia.
Yeah, let's just get this out of the way. It's Chihaia.
There we go. I was close. I was close.
Yeah. I guess you could write it with a Q, and then it sounds more natural for English speakers. It's Chihaia.
Chihaia. That's,
Yeah.
Yeah, you should change that. I'm kidding. It's confusing, man. No, but okay, so all right, let's get started with the interview. Hey guys, first things first. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us. I think these are pretty cool for people that, like, especially if you want to get like a studio job of some sort and you're looking into that. Like, this would be a cool interview to come because Christian is a senior concept artist for Ubisoft. So, like, if that's what you're looking for, then this is a good place to come and ask questions. So, and always, I think Christian's always like open for questions if you personally write him. Like, he's a cool dude, so I'm pretty sure he'll guide you if you need guidance. Um,
Right.
you're like you're like right. Uh,
Well, first off, thanks for having me, and hello to everyone. I've been looking forward to this. I know we've been trying to get this done for quite some time now, and I'm glad the planets finally aligned for us to be together here. And yeah, I'm excited. So
yes,
let's do it.
let's do it. All right. So again, welcome guys, and we're gonna save the video too because I know a lot of people. It's a little early for the lazy Americans over here. If they had a long night of partying, 12 p.m. is still early for people. Like for
It's
me,
rough.
like I just woke up too. But um, yeah. So let's get started with like the basics. Just to get to know you. How was it for you growing up, like being an artist? Did you always draw as a kid, or is it kind of a newer thing?
Well, for me, it's kind of so and so. I guess I started drawing fairly early, but nothing serious. I picked up like a video game magazine when I was 13, almost 14. It completely blew my mind, but I was just stunned with the graphics and stuff. But I had no idea what you needed to do to like get that stuff done or anything. I was just a kid, and then I guess throughout my childhood, my teen years, I guess. I started gravitating towards drawing, but eventually I took the path to study architecture. So all this stuff regarding video games and stuff like that, kind of fell to the side, and I just focused on the architecture stuff. So yeah, I did a bunch of drawing for that, and then only after many years, many years later, I came back to the video game art and stuff like that. So yeah, there was some drawing, but nothing too serious in my childhood.
So when did you know that you wanted to do like concept art? Like was that always a thing that you wanted to do, or like you didn't care?
Uh, it was this one fateful night that I remember as if it was yesterday. I was preparing to I was in 12th grade, and I was preparing to give an exam for admission at the architecture university, and it was it's a practical exam, so you have to draw. And I was looking for architecture drawings on the internet this one night, and I just found this website called conceptart.org, and I went around and started looking through it, and it just blew my mind completely. And I realized, yeah, this is insane. What is this thing? Uh, or I can't believe there's people that actually do this and it's a job and stuff like that. And that's when I discovered, Massive Black, the whole gang and stuff like that. And uh, for anybody who doesn't know, you should check out Massive Black Studios. It's an incredible company, and full of jam packed with crazy artists. So it's a really good place to look. But it was too late. You know what I mean? It was like late 12th grade, and I was already on my way to architecture. So I kept doing that. But I kept checking out this website and started, made a thread and started drawing for it and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it was that night that I decided, you know what, I think I'm going to this other school, but I'm pretty sure this is going to be it. And then 2 years later, when I was in architecture, I finally took the decision, and I quit that school and pursued this entirely.
So it was concept. It was concept. What do you stop, dude? So it was so it was concept art that kind of brought you. I was gonna ask you about that, like about those days. I think it sucks that we don't have that anymore, man. Like that type of push. And I think I was telling you one time that we were talking that I saw or you showed me your old concept art
Hmm.
sketchbook, and that
Yeah.
was crazy for people that don't know what back in the day, like the conceptart.org days, like people had sketchbooks, and then they would post like every day or every other day, like the sketches they do, and then you could see all the progression like that these guys would make, and it's just fucking amazing. Like it's crazy. So
Uh, you know what? Since we basically brought this up, I'm just gonna say it. The whole meta has changed nowadays, but I don't think it's necessarily for the better. I think back in the day, like Ricky was saying, forums were the place to be if you wanted to grow as an artist, and having a forum community meant that you would hang out around the same people every day and learn from them, and they would learn from you and stuff like that. And it was just incredible because my sketchbook thread is now 11 years old. No, it's 12 years old. Like that thread is 12 years old. And if I go on the first page and I start, scrolling, I'm like, wow, this is me 12 years old, 12 years ago. And it's incredible to see everybody's progression. And it was a very tight knit group of people growing together and challenging each other, right? And one of the greatest things that I ever got from that was the fact that, you know, if you were hardworking, you would hang out with people who worked hard as well. And eventually, most of those people became professionals. So at a certain point in time, you're like, oh, I know a lot of pros just because we used to hang out like 12 years ago. You know what I mean? When everybody was bad. So it was a very, very nice thing to have. And now it's more like I think the whole thing is shifted towards just kind of showcasing, and that type of grind isn't isn't present so much anymore. But it's still working out. I mean, people who work hard still get to do it, so it's all good.
Yeah, it's interesting. Now it's like I don't know, like right now looking at Art Station and stuff like that. Like these places are more of a like just go and dump your art and stuff like that. So I mean, in a way, it kind of sucks for people like me because I got to see like the end of it, like when everything just went crashing down, which I won't even talk about. But
No, no, let's
but yeah, let's
don't
not
want to get into that.
let's
No.
not do that. But yeah, it sucks, you know, that we a lot of us didn't get that place, and that's kind of like my goal with Draw or Die is to eventually have our own website and kind of because the thing about Facebook is cool, like the little conveniences that we have there, but it's so distracting too. So that's kind of why I want to push the website and get us away from Facebook. Like I think that'd be
Hmm.
the most beneficial thing for everybody. But yeah, man. So those days are crazy. I remember I've looked at a lot of threads. I think Dave Raposa is the craziest one. Uh, it's just insane, man. Like
Yeah,
what you guys were fucking
and
doing back then.
and Bjorn Huri and Matthias Versailles.
Yep.
Sorry if I butchered his name. Like, his thread was, there were a couple of threads that inspired me immensely and got me to grind. It was him and Bunsky, and a couple of other guys who were there like every single day, just grinding and grinding. And they're all, super good professionals now. And it's kind of, the sad part, in my opinion, is the fact that now you see like on websites like our station, which don't get me wrong, is a great website, but you don't get to see the path that took to this image.
Yes.
You know what I mean? The path that the person took to this image. It's back then you would see like every day he would draw stuff and put up more and more and more, and you could see, in the beginning he's kind of bad, and then he gets a bit better, he gets some stuff done right, and then it just evolves. But the byproduct of you watching that thread is the fact that you understand just the sheer volume of work that goes into reaching that quality. I feel that's my only beef with like the way things are presented today is just um, the process is
Isn't there?
kind of lost. It's disconnected. You don't get to see the tens of thousands of bad drawings that somebody made before they got like a showcase feature. So yeah, it
I,
was very good for me to see that when I started out, and it made me realize, okay, I got to sit down and basically, just draw until my hands fall off if I want to even have like the slightest chance.
I was gonna bring that up too. I remember one time you got mad at me because I was like, "Oh man, I just got finished. I just got done deleting all my old DeviantArt stuff," and you're like, "What?" you're
Oh
like,
yeah, I remember.
You're like, no,
Yeah,
man, you can't do that. You can't do that. I was like, what? Why? And you're like, cuz you got to see the progression. I was like, oh shit, I didn't even think about that.
yeah. It was just this movement like a couple of years ago, like 3 or 4 years ago, where a lot of professionals were deleting their old stuff, and I was so mad. It's just because Google, I guess, because you Google somebody's name and some of his old stuff will pop up, and you're like, oh, that's so bad. But in my opinion, it's better to just have that stuff up there because somebody like a young hopeful can look you up and see all that stuff and be like, okay, you know what, you used to suck. So you used to be terrible and I'm terrible, but if I go through all the exercises that you went through, then one day I'm going to be really good. So I think it's good to show that part of it.
Yep, I think that's very important for the website that I want to do. So that's a good note, like to do that. Like that's you were saying it takes away from that mysticism of talent,
Hmm.
because then people are gonna think that you were just born, able to draw and stuff. It makes sense. So, like,
Yeah.
how old were you during that time when you were on concept art and you got like when you hit that grind, like when you were like, okay, I gotta bust my ass. Like, around how old were you at the time?
Oh man, when I first opened the website, I was, I think, 18, 17 or 18.
Uh
Um, no, I was younger. Sorry. The first time I found it, I didn't really pay too much attention. It was like 2003, and then I think around 2004 or yeah, that's when. Yeah, it was around 17 to 18, something like that. Um, that's when I started realizing, the whole work behind the pretty pictures. Sorry, and I started, grinding towards it when I took the decision. Like the big, I still see it as one of my biggest decisions of my life. I was second year into architecture university, and I realized this isn't entirely my thing, and I decided, okay, I'm going to pursue concept art. And it was by all means, it could have been a terrible decision, because the market here in Romania was terrible at the time, and it was kind of a professional suicide. But I really wanted to go for that, so I took, like, quote unquote leap of faith and quit that school and moved cities. Came to Bucharest, and I was 21 at that time. So that's when I started uh, actually pursuing, like actively pursuing this career. But it would take much longer to get there, as you'll find out. Yeah.
So, were you like? I hope this isn't like a too much of a personal question, but what were you doing while you were? Because there's a lot of people that have like side jobs and they're going through that and then they're trying to learn. So what were you doing at the time? Like, when were you working? Were you just
Yeah.
learning?
Yeah. Well, okay. So, like, basically before, because of just the, I guess, financial, situation of my family, I kind of had to start working, like, very young. So I think I had, like, my first side job at like 14 or 15,
Damn.
and, like, just kind of kept going. So yeah, around the time when I was practicing for concept art, like, initially I was in school, like I was in architecture, and then I would use whatever spare time I had to practice concept art. And then when I moved to Bucharest, I had this kind of really bad period when I moved in. I don't want to go into it too much, but yeah, I didn't really have a place to stay and stuff like that. But eventually, I did manage to grab a job as a graphic designer. So I took, like, a very long and winding career path to eventually bring me here. Um, I did graphic design for a very long time. Like, my first job here in the capital was that, and I was doing like brand packages and uh, websites, packaging design, and branding, logo, identity, all that sort of stuff. And then after some time, I moved to television, and I worked as a pre-production designer there. I did show design and stuff like that. Then eventually I became an art director, and I quit. um, so after about like 3 years, 3 or 4 years of television was when I actually got my first full-time concept art job, and I was 24 at the time, 25, 24, 25, when I got my first actual concept art job full time, and that was all that I would do by that point. But I guess for people who are listening, I think the period of time that I want to emphasize more is the period when I was a graphic designer, and like a TV designer, because that's when the grind happened. That's when I took, I guess, the biggest steps it was basically, wake up at 9, be at work by 10, do the job there until like 7 p.m. Go home, sleep on the bus, get home, take a shower, eat something, grab a coffee, and then paint until like 3 or 4 a.m., 5, and then do it again, for like 3 years. So basically, I managed to like compact a huge amount of practice into like a little period of time just by doing crazy hours. Um, so yeah, you have to kind of go through that grind eventually. Um, it's just the way it is.
So that's something I was talking to. I think I think he was around during the those days, the concept.org days. I don't want to say any names. He's a cool, super cool guy, but he's kind of against the whole grind thing, and he's saying, like, it's not healthy. Like, I went
Mhm.
through it, but it's not healthy. And what do you think? Like, me personally, I think you, if you bust your ass, like, things will come as fast as you try to get them. So yeah, obviously, if you bust your ass and pretty much go on a suicide schedule, you're gonna get good faster.
Yeah.
But is it worth it? Do you think it's worth, like, doing it?
Okay. Yeah. That's a really good point. Uh, to be fair, if I've thought about this a lot of times because I always thought my development was slow. Um, if there's two ways to look at it. If you look at it in a void, then I got to the job pretty fast, but then I didn't because I was always doing suicide schedule, but the problem was I had other things to do on the side. So I always thought that, okay, if I didn't have to like pay rent and support myself since 19, like,
I think you dropped. I think you dropped, dude. Christian. I think I lost him, guys. No. Let's see. I think I lost Christian. Let me try calling him again. Let's try it one more time. Oh, hello.
hey, back.
Yeah, I lost you for a second, dude. What's up, man?
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
So we were talking about the
Yeah, how's
grind.
the grind? Yeah, I was just gonna say like, perhaps if I had stuff, handed out to me, then it would have
Been
it
easier?
would have been easier. But at the same time, maybe I wouldn't have the same work ethic.
Yep, you wouldn't have worked as hard.
Yeah, so I guess it's kind of evening out. But the I guess how do I say this? I'm a slow learner and I'm kind of dumb with some stuff, so it takes me a longer time to learn some things. So I kind of needed the suicide schedule. Some people maybe have like a better inclination, or they're more focused when they learn, and then they can learn faster, and they don't need the suicide schedule. But like, knowing myself, I definitely did need it, and I needed to like go hard. So yeah, that's just what I did. Um, I think it depends. It depends on situations. Like you said, it depends how fast you want to get to it. Nowadays, I try to tell people that it's a marathon. It's not a race. A lot of people kind of fall off because they get burnt out, and like that can be a danger. So I guess just you need to try it out for yourself and see how you feel, which of the options makes you feel better, and eventually you get to learn to know your body and your mind, and you make your own hours for learning and stuff like that. So yeah, you just kind of adapt your own schedule to your needs, and that's what's going to work for you.
So it just depends on the person, pretty much.
I really think so, yeah. And the environment too. Like I was for a big period of time in my development, I was very much a loner. So I I I didn't have too many opportunities to like draw inspiration from other people. And that makes you slower as well. If you're part of like a really cool group of people where everybody's learning and they're helping each other, then you're gonna grow faster because somebody will point out a mistake earlier. Uh, so yeah, I think a lot of stuff needs to be factored in.
Never thought about that. So surroundings, yeah, very true, dude. Very true. Like I've seen a lot of people in the hangouts just grow so much in like a little bit of time just from like the other guys and stuff. It's kind of crazy. That's true. That's so true. Oh man.
Yeah.
So what else? Okay, so we went to the before you got hired days and how you were grinding and stuff. So when did you land your you said you landed your big gig after all that stuff as a concept artist? As a concept artist, was that for Ubisoft or was that for somebody else?
No, it was somebody else. It was way before Ubisoft. No, basically, um, it's kind of funny because like I hopped throughout um, areas of expertise, all within graphics, the big graphics folder, But I hopped between different areas of expertise. So when I arrived at this job, um, it was for a small outsourcing studio, um, and I got there and I was like, "Hey guys, like my actual concept art work experience was zero, you know." But I was coming as an art director from television, so it helped. but per, but concept art per se, that was my first gig. But by that time, when I was in TV, I started doing freelance illustration and concept art. So I I had experience, just not on paper. But yeah, that was my first gig. I think I was 24 or something, um, and it was a good place. I stuck around for about a year or so. Um, they had some pretty nice projects, some really big clients and stuff. So there was a lot of stuff to learn, and I definitely did learn a lot of stuff there, just about games development and stuff like that. So it was a good place. Yeah.
Nice. So I think the question people want to know, like they always want to know, and
Hmm.
um, how did you go? How did you approach like that? That's like such a big part for artists. They're a lot of them. I'm not trying to be mean, but a lot of them are kind of not very good at finding jobs or approaching people for jobs or tailoring their portfolios for jobs. So how did you approach these companies and what did you do? Who did you talk to? What was your like plan of attack? Because I know that's a very important thing for getting hired is your plan of attack. How did you approach things to get hired, like from the small place to all the way up to Ubisoft?
Right. I think by far the most important thing I did was I kept myself online and visible since the beginning.
Hmm.
Like, I started live streaming. I think I had like the second live stream channel on live stream, and I was really bad. Like that was the beginning of my journey. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
But I would live stream like every night. I would post on like so many websites. I think if I Google my name, I find profiles on websites that I forgot about entirely. Basically, just spammed the internet with what I was doing, and then slowly upgrading the stuff as I did better paintings. So one of the most important things is to keep yourself out there. I know everybody talks about it, but I can and I will tell you about how that became very real in my life and how it did pay off eventually. Basically, in in my TV job, my second like the concept art job and my Ubisoft job, I was referred. Like I never really went out and looked for the companies. They basically just kind of reached out to me. So that's only a result of just keeping yourself out there.
Because you're
And
visible.
yeah, because and it was all the forums and stuff, and there was a Romanian art forum as well, and even today I meet people and we go way back before I can even remember, like, oh my god, you're this username from there, and like, oh, and yeah, it happens. And then he's like, oh, by the way, I work for this company, why don't you come join us, and you're like, okay, sure. you know like that stuff can really happen. So that's a big part. The second part is, make yourself helpful and useful, and like open up. You, if you spend time, if you take time out of your day to help people out, eventually it is going to like turn around for you. Maybe not today, tomorrow, but in like 5 years, you might get a random dude saying, "Hey, remember me? You helped me out with this thing like 5 years ago, so let me buy you a beer." And by this time you have forgotten completely about it, but he remembers it. So I think it's very important to just be cool people and be nice. Don't hang out to like secrets. Don't hang out to like techniques and stuff because they come and go very fast. So just share your findings with the world, and yeah, it's a big thing. And in terms of catering portfolios and stuff, because you mentioned this as well.
Uh-huh.
When I applied to freelance, I would have like a different portfolio for each company that I would apply to. If it was board game companies, I would have board game oriented artwork. Like I would never show, for example, if I'm applying to, I don't know, Fantasy Flight games, right? I'm not going to have graphic design in my portfolio, or I'm not going to have like a TV commercial in it. It's just not relevant. So you need to cater your portfolio towards the company that you're applying to and their interests, and just add stuff that you think, okay, this will draw their attention because it kind of looks like the stuff they're looking for.
That they're doing, yes.
So exactly. So first you look up the company. You try to find out about them. What do they do? You look at their product. You look at their artists, which is another big thing that I do whenever I apply somewhere. I'm sorry, but I will Google their artists and look at their level, and then look at my level and see, okay, because you need to be better than, I guess the average artist in a company to like ease your way into it. So I always look for that as well, and so yeah, that's cater your portfolio to what you're applying to, and make it short and sweet. That's a big thing. I have the disease of a big portfolio, and it doesn't work out every time. even today, I keep separate portfolios based on interest or whatever I'm applying to. I kind of have a couple of categories for portfolios, and I just send the ones that are more relevant to where I'm applying. Um, so yeah, that's a big factor for portfolios. And in terms of approaching, um, just be nice.
Don't be an asshole.
Don't be an asshole. It's a big thing. It's such a big thing, and because people remember if you're a douche, like people remember that so easily, and it's so much harder to make a good impression than it is to make a bad impression. So yeah, just be nice, and that's it.
Yeah, don't be like me. Don't be an asshole.
Don't be like Ricky.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's crazy though. When people ask me, I don't have any specific place where I'd want to get hired at the moment. I'll just take whatever I think is interesting right now, and just whatever, not worried. But if I did obviously want to shoot for a studio job, like that's just kind of common sense. And I don't mean to sound like a douchebag saying that, but that's just a lot of getting hired has to do with just thinking. Think like there's a few people I've met where they're like, oh, I want to work for Blizzard, and it's like, so let me see your stuff, and none of their stuff looks like Blizzard. And it's like, well, what do I have to do? Well, look at the stuff that they're doing. There's like a very clear style that they're doing at Blizzard. I think it's based off a certain artist. I forgot the artist's name, but it's very clear.
I think it's mostly Samwise. I
Yeah,
think it's mostly Samwise Didier who
hmm
started
the Blizzard look.
yeah.
So yeah, do that. Like it's pretty simple, guys. And I kind of wanted to hit on that. If that's what you want, look at their stuff, and there's nothing wrong with obviously bending your style to their style. That's where you want to work because that's what they're hiring. They're not gonna change your whole style because you're coming into the picture, you know. So just keep that in mind. I just wanted to harp on that a little bit. Um, so we talked about how you applied, how you went about it,
Uh,
networking.
yeah, in terms of targeting companies, I feel like I don't know. After having been in the industry for some time now, uh, it's kind of strange. Before you get in, it's yeah, you would either work anywhere or you would only work for that company. That's kind of how it's split. I remember when I started out, I would have worked anywhere, just no salary, just let me in. You know what I mean? uh, and then it kind of changes in time. I think nowadays it's more about creative challenges. What makes you tick, what projects you think are interesting, and I think in time you sort of select companies based on their products and their teams, like the people in there. Is you start asking yourself questions like, could I go to work here like every day? Do I like these people? Do they like me? Are we gonna get along fine? Uh, is the project interesting? Is my part of the project interesting? So in time, as you advance, you sort of filter out the jobs differently. Uh, I, I I can't say I necessarily targeted Ubisoft. I always felt like it was one step above me. I still do, but basically, I'll tell you the story of how I ended up there. It was through a common friend of a common friend of a common friend who added me on Facebook, and they saw some of my drawings, and they thought maybe I would fit with what they're doing there in Ubisoft, and we started talking, and then around that time, I started doing sort of like undeclared fan art towards their brands that I would post on my, like, I wouldn't call it fan art, but you could see the influences. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's just because I knew that people from there were checking out my Facebook around that time, so I just wanted to be posting relevant things.
Ah,
And if
brilliant.
yeah,
See, and that's exactly what I'm doing right now. But keep going.
Yeah, so like, you kind of need to understand that stuff too in time. And yeah, eventually it did get to a point where we got to talk, and I ended up going there, and yeah, been there ever since, and it's really nice. And it's kind of strange too how my entire portfolio was completely irrelevant to that job, but I basically got hired over some particular sketches that I made. It was just some of my architecture stuff that caught their eye. Like, they didn't really cared all that much about the other stuff. Of course, it helped like the rest of the bulk of the portfolio, but the initial spark was just some building sketches. So you never know. And then when they contacted me and we started talking and I got hired, I remembered having met Raphael Lacoste many years before and being like, oh my God, Ubisoft, that would be so amazing one day, you know. And then I was there and I'm like, hey man, I'm finally in. It took a lot of years, but I'm here. So
That's
I
awesome.
don't, yeah, I rarely target companies. Sometimes I target products. Like, it was like that with board games. I wanted to do a board game and have it in my house and keep it and like hold it in my arms, regardless of the company or anything else. I just wanted to do a board game.
That's a good goal.
Yeah, just because I loved board games and I would play them, and I was like, I need to do this. So eventually that happened too.
What'd you do?
Oh man, I did a lot of them. I did Doomtown, the new version. I worked a bit on Dead of Winter. I did Talisman, uh, uh, Game of Thrones, card game. I don't know. There's so many by now. It's hard to keep up. I did one by myself, which was very fun. It's called Eggs and Empires. It's like a smaller card game, but it's really fun to play. I did that all by myself, and it was really fun. I don't know. Just
Just
yeah.
a bunch
By
of
now,
shit.
by now, it's been quite a few.
That's cool, man. So yeah, it's funny you said that because I'm going through exactly that right now. Is that I heard there's a certain place looking at my stuff and I'm like, holy shit. So the smart, and I'm saying this, I'm not bragging, I'm not trying to say I'm smart or anything, but the smart thing to do at this point, if you hear somebody's looking at your work or could potentially be hiring you, is something should click in your head and be like, whoa, I should be doing what they got right now. Like, I should be looking at all their stuff and like tailoring all my shit to what they're doing, just so you stand out even more. Obviously, if they're already considering you, do that. And that's just not common sense, but there's a little bit of thought behind it, and I think it's funny that Christian just said that. It's kind of brilliant. But so okay, so jobs, tailoring. I was just looking at your LMS piece that was in. That
Yeah.
was in LMS. I loved it. I think that's when I first heard of you. It was like what, like 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I was like, who's this fucking SICKBRUSH guy? I'm like, I like his name. By the way, guys, his name's SICKBRUSH, and I think he told me how the name came about. There's a story to it if you want to tell it.
Yeah, there's a story, and it's not about me being an egotistical
Yeah,
maniac.
I know you said that.
Yeah, yeah, because a lot of people think I'm just like, oh, it's a sick person. um, yeah, no, the story was, it was just an inside joke from many years ago when everybody would ask me what brushes I used. And around that time, I was just painting using the hard round brush, like just a round brush, nothing else. But I would scribble it so hard that it looked like anything else. So, and then I don't know, the joke kind of came around like, oh, it's just a sick brush. And then yeah, some people came to the stream and they said like, oh, that's the brush strokes look sick. Like, some of my work from like 4 or 5 years ago has some really intense brush work. Like that was really something I enjoyed, and I still enjoy doing it. Uh, so yeah, it just kind of felt like a fit, and that I went with it.
SICKBRUSH, yeah, and the little logo.
But it's
I love that little logo, dude. It's so good.
thank you.
So okay, we talked about
Like,
the whole.
sorry, like, what kind of designer would I have been
If
if I
you couldn't
couldn't
come up with a.
with a pro- with a decent logo for myself?
That's true.
uh,
That's what I was thinking too. I'm like, that's the designer part of you. But so okay, we talked about like approaching the jobs and stuff like that. So now we'll go into like your side of it. Like, what are you looking for like at Ubisoft? Since people, I think if people are here, they're probably interested in that. Like, what does Ubisoft look for? Like, what are they looking for to hire?
oh, oh man. Okay, so I'll answer. I think I'll answer in two sides of it. Okay, because on one side of it, I was fortunate enough here in Ubisoft to be involved in the process of hiring a few artists.
Uh,
So so I was like on the front line with my art director, kind of going through portfolios and doing the interviews and stuff like that. Um, and that's so strange to be on the other side. By the way, it's so crazy. Um, yeah, and basically what what I look for, if it's somebody that I want to introduce to my team, is um, I want that person to show like yeah, let's okay, the portfolio. In terms of portfolio, I like to see versatility. I like to see uh, both, dynamic and like cleanliness, because you kind of need both at certain points. You need to be able to do like fast stuff and do quick iterations and paint overs, and I think we'll talk about the photo bashing and all that stuff. Um, so you need to be able to do that, but there's also like it's production. It's a video game. You're part of a big team, and your drawings need to be understandable. I know I have a lot of we had a lot of people applying that they, their portfolios were full of pieces that were just gorgeous. Like I would love to have those in my house, like printed.
uh-huh.
But in terms of a video game production cycle, yeah, we just couldn't use them because they lacked, sharpness and detail, and like you couldn't really make out too much what was going on there. So I think a big thing that people need to uh, understand is the difference between illustration and like video game concept art. Like you should be able to draw stuff on like a gray background with just black and white, and make it read, make it understandable. So that's something that I look for in portfolios. And then of course when it comes to I'll just I'm not mentioning it, but I think it goes by itself, without saying just, color theory and composition and all that. Like, of course, you need to display a solid grasp on the basics. And then in terms of the actual person, like, um, we always do this little trick, I guess. It's not even a trick. It's just normal. Like when somebody has like an in-house test, right? We'll drop by in the middle of it and be like, "Hey, could you change this thing?"
You just throw a curveball.
Yeah, like during the actual test, and some people will be like, "I don't know," and other people will say like, "Oh yeah, sure, thanks," and because it's very important for people to be to be open to critique, because it's a huge part of what we do, right? Like concept art is super iterative. Like you go through a lot of different versions until you reach the final one. Sometimes you can, if you're working on like a huge landmark or an area, you could be iterating for like months, you know It's just the way it goes. So you need to be able to pick up on that critique. So that's why we ask people to, and it's not even random. Like we're literally trying to help. Like if we see something wrong as they're doing the test, we're like, hey, can you gotta, you know, you gotta change that a little bit. And if they'll do it, then it's a plus point from us. So yeah, of course, you just need to be nice because everybody nice likes nice people, and that's why I was mentioning it earlier. It's like even when you get to an interview, it's just the vibe that you let out. Uh, if you're being nice and approachable and polite, then that's gonna give you plus points
Yeah.
for the interview.
What if the guy is super talented but he's an asshole?
If he's a super talented, like if he's like incredible level, uh, he might get outsourced. If like if there's outsource going on, which I never know if there is. So I'm not sure if there is any outsource going on, but I think probably that would be the answer. Uh, but in terms of like, no, I think my director would just be like, no,
No.
like I can't talk to the person. You know, I can't see myself hanging out with this guy for like so long. And the art team in Bucharest, like the concept art team, is just like 5 people, I think, spread out in different projects. So we're a very small group, and like we hang out, you know, and we have barbecues and stuff. So you kind of need that person to be, you know, to be able to get integrated
Sociable.
into the gang. Yeah, sociable and nice. Otherwise, it's just not gonna work out. Yeah.
Yep, and that's what I tell guys in the group. Like, be open, man. Like, don't think that art by itself is just gonna get you hired. Like, people also look at who you are, and it sounds shitty, but at the end of the day, it's like, who do you want to work with? Like, it's. I think eventually, whether the guy is not as good as the asshole, he'll eventually catch up to him, and
Um,
he's more sociable.
you know, that's a big one. That's a big one for me.
That's what she said.
That's what she said. Yeah. Of course it depends on the project, right? If I'm in the beginning of a project that's gonna take a long time to develop, right? Uh, and I have an artist applying that's almost there at the level, then I'll take him. You know, because he has time. You know, there's a bit of time. If you're like in super crazy crunch, then you can't afford taking somebody who's not completely, you know, ready. But if you're in the beginning of a project and you have some time to spare with pre-production and stuff, and you meet an artist who's like good but not super good, you know, and he's like a super nice guy, then sometimes like I would generally decide to get him on board because I know how fast he'll develop once he's in. And this is a true this is a true story, by the way. Like your curve of development once you get hired in a like a full-time gig like this with people that do it for such a long time, that's like your curve of development just goes straight through the roof. You'll grow so fast and like so much. It's crazy.
Hmm.
So I take that into consideration when I'm looking at artists that apply there. You know, I'm like, how many months would it take for this person to get up to par with what we do? You know.
And why would you say that the learning curve goes up? Is it because the artists are being asked to do stuff that they've never done before and they got to push harder?
It's because usually, uh, I know, like my level just blew up. You know, I'm still far from where I would like to be or where I need to be, but uh, compared to what I was when I got in, you know, I definitely shut up a lot. It's just because your brain is quiet. You know what I mean? You're like you're in a room for 8 hours and your only job is to draw. You know what I mean? And then you get paid and you have beer out of the money that you made drawing all day. So, it's this click. Like, you start doing it because you enjoy it, and because it's just this big change in your mind. Plus, it's the quality of the people around you that kind of push you to do better. Like, for me, if I ever feel too good about myself, I just need to look at a painting from Martin de Chambeau or like Raphael Lacoste, and then I'll just cry inside and like keep practicing, like, and these are people that are in the same company. We don't work like in the same desk, like at the same desk, but like they're in the same company, and you're like, if he's that good and I'm this bad, and we're in the same company, man, I need to catch up. You know what I mean? So that also motivates you. It's just the quality of the people in there. So yeah, you just get much better. Plus, you work with an experienced art director who's gonna catch your mistakes. Like, I've been making a composition mistake for like so many years before I got hired there, and like within the first 2 weeks, my art director was like, "You keep doing this shit, and it's bad, and you should stop." And I'm like, "Wow, I never realized that," you know. So yeah.
So okay, all right. So we talked about a bunch of shit now. Um, I guess I want to hit on the actual learning stuff now that I think people want to know too. I know now I'm looking at your stuff, and I've seen you work a bunch of times, so I kind of know that for you at this point, like whether it's 3D, it's 2D, like you're versatile. Like you could pretty much use anything, approach a painting any way, whether you start with colors or you do values. So, uh, I, it's kind of dumb to ask you what you do now because now you can pretty much approach anything anyway. But when you were starting out, though, what worked for you? Was it did you start off like doing values first and then adding color to them, or how did you learn? Like, did you because me personally, I started with line art and then I went to values and then I started playing with color. And now I'm like kind of just putting it all together, doing the color theory and doing the values and checking everything, making sure everything's balanced. So, did you start off like that, like individually, one by one, or what did you do? What kind of studies did you do? All that stuff.
Oh man. Oh man. It's funny because like today I was going through my folders like from the past years, because I was trying to select some paintings to send for somebody, and like if you look at my work from like the past 8 years or so, man, I've, like you said, like I've done just about anything and like tried out anything, and that's pretty much the way I learned. I I'm so bad at like keeping one pipeline going forever. I just constantly try to reinvent what I do and try out like a different technique. And of course, in time, uh, I would say try everything. Just try everything. Try photo bashing. Try warping. Like I used to do this crazy thing on live streams where I would like overimpose pictures on top of each other, and then select the warp tool and just warp like until they're broken, and then kind of look at it and flip it and be like, ah, it kind of looks like a dinosaur. And like, paint out the dinosaurs in them, and like just crazy exercises. Just try everything. Any technique you find, you should try it at least once. That's my opinion. And do all of them. Like, because line art teaches you one thing, value painting teaches you another. Color studies, that's going to teach you something else. So I don't think there's like one way to go. It's just a lot of parallel ways in which you develop, and they all kind of interact with each other and kind of provide to your learning experience. So I think you should try anything. Like, and in time, this is the cool thing, because you're doing it as you're learning, and then in time you'll find certain techniques that are good for you and that suit a particular thing. Like today, for example, if you ask me to design, I don't know, a building, I'm gonna I'm gonna do it in a certain way. I'll probably go line art, and then block shapes and see what it looks like. With a big emphasis on on line drawing. If you ask me to do characters, maybe I'll do a loose sketch and then like some value stuff, and then black out shapes and color it and look at that. If you ask me to do like a big environment, I'll probably go for photos. And like these are all like different pipelines to achieve a certain result. And in time, you kind of realize which fits, best with what you're trying to get. And in terms of study, like I was pretty bad. I was pretty bad at studying, man. I hated doing the texture studies, like the spheres. I hated doing like anatomy studies. I hated it. It's so funny. I hated studying, but I loved grinding. It makes no sense. So I studied a lot of contemporary uh, masters, so to speak. For me, it was pretty clear. I want to be a concept art. I'm gonna study concept artists. It's so clear, you know. So I studied the crap out of my favorite artists and tried to like reverse engineer their paintings and figure out, okay, what did they do to get this result? How did they make this stuff look like this? Um, so that helped me really a lot. Just studying current working professionals. Uh, yeah, I think that was incredibly beneficial.
It's smart. It's just a smart thing to do, I think. You're looking at what's out there right now, what's getting hired, what's cool, and you're learning how they're doing it. It's just I think it's just a smart thing to do.
Um, Hopefully.
I think it
I
is.
mean,
I
yeah.
think
Yeah, I definitely, I definitely learned a lot from doing that. Like, and it was so taunting. Like, I had dreams about Marko Djordjevic showing me how to like hold a pencil. You know what I mean? Like, it's so taunting at some point when you spend so much time like looking at somebody's work, and it's not to imitate. That's the thing, because there's a fine line in it. Like, you shouldn't try to be another artist. Like, you should never try to be, Marco or somebody else, because then you'll just be a worse version, a worse copy of that person.
yeah, not as good as version as whoever.
Yeah, as the original, of
Yeah.
course. So you just kind of, but what you can do is try to understand some of the stuff they're doing and why it's good, and learn from them. And of course, the whole Gnomon thing was huge. Yeah, in my days, in our days, it was a big thing, and those helped a lot. I didn't realize you could flip your canvas until I saw it in a Gnomon, and so on and so forth. And those little discoveries are very pleasant to have. Those small epiphanies, like, oh, you can lock transparency on a layer, like,
I still don't know how to do that.
dude.
I just paint like normal. Like if I was just like one layer, two layers. Like I'm so horrible at shortcuts right now. But I don't know. I guess I'm like just trying to grind the hardest way possible, and then later. That's a good question actually. When you were starting out, I guess the natural learning curve would be to do things the hard way at first, and then after that go, worry about quantity and not quality. So like when you first started out, were you more worried about quality and then later worried about quantity? Is that how it worked for you? Because that's I think to me that's my approach. Like right now, I'm a little bit more worried about quality, not so much about speed.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, but you're not starting out now. For me, like when I started out, it was just quality gives quantity. Quantity gives quality.
ah,
And I had this written on my sketchbooks. quantity gives quality, because when you're starting out, you're fighting off like, muscle memory, hand dexterity, eye-hand coordination, you know, memory, just stuff like that. So it's just you need just a physical movement of doing it like over and over and over and over again. So I think for me, like I have in the other in my like in the living room somewhere under a table or something, I have like this box that's like I don't know what to describe, man. Help me out. A big ass box.
It's a chest.
It's a huge box of just old sketchbooks. There's probably like, I don't know, a couple thousand pages in there at least.
Nice.
Like full to the brim of just drawing. And that's just to learn how to learn and to improve my accuracy and stuff like that. And it did lead to the point where I almost had surgery, but nonetheless, you kind of need quantity as well. And quality is something that, you're working on and I'm working on now, because now I'm not interested in doing 100 drawings in a week. I'm interested in doing like 5 of them that are top notch, right? But that happens later, I think.
So actually, people are talking about school right now in the chat. What's your theory on school? Is it? And I mean, it's not really a theory. I think we all know what it is. But what is your take on school? Is it necessary? Will it get you hired? The rest of the bullshit.
Yeah, sure. Okay. I think the only school that I've ever heard being talked about in a nice way is Art Center. Right, I think I heard a couple of pros talking about it and saying it's pretty good, and that's about it. Every school has problems and it has advantages. Like for me, like my educational story is a complete train wreck. Basically, I did 2 years of architecture university. Then I moved here, and I thought, by this time I knew I'm gonna be a concept artist, no matter fucking what. And then I thought, which other school in my country can allow me to draw a lot, but I don't want it to be art school. So I went for the second option, which is product design. And I actually studied product and industrial design for 4 years. And then I quit that one as well because I was too busy at work by this point. So in theory, like if you look at my papers, I don't have like superior education. Like I don't have any major, but it didn't really matter because the best school in the world is Google. by far, it beats any school in the world. Just plain straight Google. And a lot of people, and I know I'm probably gonna get some slack for saying this, but not everybody knows how to use Google properly. So you can find any fucking thing you need to become a big artist. Look at Brad Rigney, man. Yep. Brad Rigney is like the epitome of Google. He's like, I don't know, I just Google stuff and then I practiced and like here I am. It's that simple. But there are a couple of things that school can offer you which self-learning doesn't. One of them is teamwork, right? That's a big thing. Deadlines. Unless you impose them on yourself, you'll never know about them, right?
Yep.
So, projects like some schools can take you through a couple of projects. And then the biggest thing, in my humble opinion, that a school gives you is like rigid deadlines. Like you gotta do this or you don't pass. And that's something that you need to get accustomed to because it'll happen in your career, in your profession as well. If you're a freelancer, you'll be like, oh, okay, I have 1 month to do these paintings. And if I don't, then I don't get any money. And some people are used to this by going to school or stuff like that, and some people are not used to this, and they sometimes flop. So that's, in my opinion, and of course it makes you a bit more sociable because you kind of need to be around people, right? At all. Like I've been on every side of it because after my, like, between my first concept art job and Ubisoft, I was like freelancer full time, and I just be at home all the time. So, hey doggy.
That's Mojo. He's sorry. Shout out Mojo.
Yeah. So yeah, like I got both sides of it, and I guess those are the only things that I look forward in a school. And to the question, will it help me get hired? Probably not. Most likely not. I know there are a couple of schools that are usually extremely expensive that have a graduation program where they'll have agents and like recruiters.
They get hired right off school
when you graduate, huh?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, like a graduation show full of recruiters and stuff like that. I know that happens sometimes, but even then, only the good ones get hired, not everybody. So, nah, it's never been a question for me. I've been through like tens of jobs so far. I've never been asked a question about university, like, do I have a degree? Nobody asked me. The only time like I ever got, they didn't ask me at Ubisoft either. They asked me after I went through like all the tests and the interviews and everything, and it was all good. Then they asked me because they need to put it in the contract. But up until that point, they didn't really care that much about it. And I think this is a big advantage of the type of job that we have. It's because it's vocational, and it's just it's a manufactured type of job, and you just need to prove what you can do, and then you'll get the job. In school, like I've seen people with incredible skills on paper get rejected, because their actual skills were bad.
Yep. So there you go, guys. You heard it. Because I get that question so much, like, what school should I go to? And it's like, dude, it's not about the school. It's like, how much are you drawing right now? Like, how much are you planning on drawing? And school is it's just paper, man. Like, it looks good on paper, but if you can't draw, you're not gonna get hired unless you're one of those people that gets hired than those people. It does happen, but yeah, just bust your ass. That's what it's about. So we went and killed that theory about school. Just putting it out there.
And it depends on the country as well, man. And here's another side of it too. Like, it depends on your financial situation as well. Like, if you have the opportunity, I keep saying this, if you have the opportunity to do a good school without getting buried in debt, then you know what, do it. Why not? Do it. But if you're looking at a student loan that's gonna keep you in poverty for like 10, 15 years, don't do it, because you can do it without it.
That's a good point.
That's all.
That's
if
a good
you can
point.
afford it, like if you can really afford good education, then I don't see why not. That's also true. For me, I'm used to speak from the perspective of a person who can't really afford that stuff. So it was just kind of, for me, like, there's no way in hell I could have afforded like a proper school like Fengzu, or I don't know, other like schools like that, like New Edge in Paris, or California, or anything like that. That's like, no way, cannot afford. So I was just like, well, what can I do? I just got to try without it, and you can.
Yeah, like Art Center. I think Art Center is like $500,000, close to $500,000 for 4 years.
Yeah, there you go. Like, I don't even know if I'll ever make $500,000. So yeah, you kind of adapt to your possibilities.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, that's a good point though. Obviously, if you can afford it, why not? Like, do it. But yeah, like I have friends. I mean, just like you know, people that are probably still paying off student loans from college and all that. So
Hmm.
it's kind of insane. But yeah. So that's a school talk. Just hitting on it. What do you actually? What do you think about all these? What do you think of Gumroads and or like people that do their own self classes and they teach people? What do you think of those? How would you right now approach that? Like, what would you recommend, and what would you recommend not doing?
Mm. You mean what would I recommend to the people doing them, or to the
To
students,
the, no,
or
no,
both?
to the students, not the people doing
Okay,
that.
thanks. It's a good. It's a good. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Um, so, um, if you're looking to take up a class like that online from somebody, just ask for the schedule, right? The big schedule. Just try and look for a very transparent one, because you should look at, you know, at what you're going to be doing, right, and what that person is going to offer you. I think that's a big thing. I think you remember probably, like, I did this some time ago. I had like this mentorship program for like 3 months, and there were some good parts and some bad parts to it. If you're going to pay money to do it, then I would say, of course, you need to make sure that the instructor is good, and that he has like relevant things to teach you, um, and then make sure that he has a very structured, organized um, plan in which he will teach you, because yeah, it's gonna matter a lot. Look for assignments. Look for feedback. I've seen a couple of programs that, like, because they don't really give you feedback, which is kind of ridiculous. So yeah, you should look for critique and direct feedback and stuff like that, because it's gonna definitely help you. There's also like I think the Learn Squared initiative was very interesting. It's the first time I saw something like that, where you're actually watching somebody else learn, uh, um, and I think it could work out, because you do have access to their feedback. So yeah, could be good.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know too much about that. I'll look into that. That's that. I think I saw Anthony Jones is doing that.
Yeah,
Um,
right. Because basically, you get the opportunity to see Anthony Jones learning from another professional. Learning something that he can do, for example, right? And you get access to his entire path of learning. And I think that's incredibly valuable as well. So yeah, it's good.
that's interesting. I'll look into that for sure. Um, so,
But if
uh,
but in terms, okay, I can't. Okay, I'll stop. Yeah,
what? and,
nothing.
and,
I was just gonna nitpick on Patreons.
okay, go ahead,
But
run it.
yeah, in terms of Patreon, if you really like the person and you want to help the person out, do it. If you're looking to learn, then pay attention to what they're offering you. That's it.
Okay, that's true. That's true. There's like there's so many Patreons out there too. Like, I don't think I support any of them. I should. I mean, yeah, it's like you said. If you like
The only one I support is Justin Goby Fields.
oh, just okay, yeah,
Yeah,
Justin's cool, man.
yeah.
He's a cool dude.
Hmm.
Yeah, I might actually have him judge here soon. Just like have
Oh, you should.
like a 3D challenge. I talked to him a little bit. Um, okay, so we talked about school. Um, we talked about your workflow, and then now we're gonna talk about like my question is this is I don't know, man. Like I guess it kind of irks me when people are like too confident about their work. And you already kind of hit on it, but I guess I wanted to bring it back up. Is that is being humble, and and how hard are you on yourself? Like me, I hate everything I do. I'm always like, and I think that drives me though. That, and I've seen that drives other people where you're just not happy, you're not comfortable, so you're gonna push yourself harder. Um, but a lot of times it could kind of hurt you if you do it too much. So I think there's like a good balance of it. So how do you approach it? Like, do you beat yourself up a lot?
Well, okay, I'm gonna start with the first part. I absolutely despise people who, you know, toad their own horn. Uh, it's just not working for me, and it's especially bad when you know that it's not real as well, because if you have Kim Jong Il, right,
Yeah.
come in and say, you know what, I'm really good at drawing this. I can, you know what, just give me an empty wall and I'll fill it up in 2 hours, and I'll do it,
And
and
he
that's
would.
it. And then what? Yeah, you'll be like, well, yeah, well, he can. Yes, sir. Can I grab a seat and watch? Like, sure. But a lot of times it's a very fine, incredibly fine line between marketing yourself and, praising yourself.
Exactly.
Um, and it's a it's a strange science that you kind of learn in time as well. You get to learn when it's too much, when you're being one of those people, when it's not enough, when you're bringing yourself down too much, especially if it's public. Like, oh boy, I had some rough times. Like, because I live streamed entire years of my life, dude. Like, literally entire years of my life, each and every evening on live stream. So I would go through like so many phases, and sometimes I would like super beat myself up, and I had people telling me, you know what, that's damaging to your image. And at a certain point in time, it is, if you do it publicly. If you like keep saying that, you know what, I don't know what I'm doing, and like I'm so bad at this, and like sometimes it's kind of fun and like playful, like haha, I have no idea what I'm doing, right? But if you keep saying it, then people will be like, well, he has no idea what he's doing. Like,
Exactly, dude. Holy shit.
right? So you gotta pay attention, uh, if you make a painting and you're excited about it because you think it's good, right, and hopefully by this time you have some sense of scale of where you are, then by all means you should definitely share it a lot and be proud of it. you know if you're posting something and you know it's bad, then A, why are you posting it? And two, and B, like, you're not going to want to share it everywhere, because uh, it could become a measure of your skill, and it's not entirely sure that you want that. So just be fair to yourself, I would say. And if you're fair to yourself, then, people shouldn't have a problem with where you are as an artist. But both, I think both extremes are bad. I hate it when I see the self praise, and I hate it when I see the fake, like the fake bashing, right? Because that's a thing too. Like, you see somebody post something and it's very good,
And they're like,
and
oh, this sucks.
and they're like, oh, I'm so bad at this, and you're like, come on, man, really, it's good. Like, don't, just be honest. Just be like, hey guys, I hope you like this new painting. You don't need to add a value to it. Just drop it and let it fly. You know. So yeah, it's kind of a fine line, but yeah. Personally, the way I look at myself, I'm usually like super hard on myself internally, right? There are a couple of steps that you shouldn't take, like belittling yourself too much, especially if you're in a working environment. Um, but my inside struggles are real, right? But that's just part of what drives you to get better, and a healthy dose of that is needed, you know. So you kind of need to be aware of, okay, I can improve because this is really bad. I can do better. I got to do better. That's just part of evolving. Just not necessarily going around, yelling it in the office. Probably not a good idea, but or getting a new assignment at the job and thinking I have no idea how I'm gonna do this, but I'm gonna Google the crap out of it until I find an answer. That's what you might be thinking, but you probably don't want to say it to your art director, because that happens, and there's challenges at every step of the way. So, yeah.
That was a good question. I'll give myself credit for that.
It was a great question, because you're right. It happens a lot, and it's kind of hard to tell when it's too much in either direction.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if it was you that told me that, because I used to kick my ass like every time I post up like, "Oh, this sucks, I fucking hate it," and somebody wrote me and they're like, "Dude, stop doing that. Like like I know we all feel like that, but stop doing that because people that are hiring are looking at you and they're gonna think that you don't fucking know anything. So that's harmful to you." So yeah, I'm wondering if it was you. I don't think it was you, but somebody said the same.
I don't think it was me.
Somebody said the same thing to me though. And after that, obviously, I still say I hate my shit, but I don't put it out too much like that. But
right.
I do. I still.
And it's also the audience, right? Like, if I talk to my artist friends, I'm like, dude, this is so bad. Please help. What do I do? But then, of course, if you put something out and you know that you have potential employers looking at it, you just want to be sort of neutral about the quality of it. And that's another thing. Like, you could draw something and think it's great, and then people won't react to it, and they'll think it's bad, and then you'll do something that's just kind of random, and people will love it. That's just the nature of the internet beast. Like, you don't always know what's gonna work and what's not gonna work. So just kind of let it fly,
Yeah, so true, dude. So there's the humble part of learning, and that's a big thing though. I think I'm more against the people that are humble versus the people that beat themselves up. Um, Either way, it's kind of it gets annoying because there's people that do fish for compliments, and it's like, yeah, I get what you're saying, but it's the not humble people. I think I've come across some certain people that think that they're like God's gift to art, and it's like, no, dude, like there's so much that you can hit on, and nobody's perfect. I mean, even the greatest artists right now, there's things that you can improve on, and just humble yourself. It's just annoying, and it rubs you off the wrong way. And the thing about the industry, it's a small industry, and everybody knows who you are, and everybody, if you're an asshole and you're fucking cocky, they'll know.
Yeah, you know what? I'm a firm believer in karma.
Exactly.
And throughout my life, I've had big examples of it, and some of them were related to, like, this type of maybe more of a toxic behavior kind of artist, and didn't really work out oftentimes. Like, I remember having people around me that would go to work in a different place, and they'll be like rubbing it off in my face, like, oh, maybe if you're better, you could join us.
Wow.
And, stuff like that. And then the whole place shuts down in like a couple of months, and they're looking for a job. I mean, it's stuff like that happens, but it's also like what I really enjoy is this idea of karma on the internet. Is basically, it's a constructed karma, right? It's an orchestrated karma.
Yep.
Because if you help out people, if you help people and you're nice, and you do your best to like improve others around you, um, like eventually it's gonna come around, right? Like what goes around comes around because people talk about you. Like people will always talk about other artists, right? 'Cause that's just a big part of of what we do, right? We talk about other artists, and then there's always gonna be a good tone or a bad tone, and you want them to be talking to you, to be talking about you in a good tone. So yeah, you gotta pretty much just be nice and humble, like we were saying, and just also be fair to where you are. I mean, when I got hired in Ubisoft, I looked at the artists looking worldwide in the company, like concept artists, and I thought I am the worst concept artist in Ubisoft right now. Like literally, just by looking at their level. And then I was like, well, I can't have this go on forever. So, because what if they'll find out? So, so I just, kept training, right? And that's another myth that needs to be debunked. I think for a lot of people who become professionals, it's like you're not done, bro. You are not done. Like you need to keep grinding and improving. Sometimes even more than you did before. So yeah, it's never really over.
Yeah, man, definitely. Okay, so egos. Uh, talked about egos. Talked about um, yeah, we talked about it a lot, man. This is actually one of my favorite interviews, and you know what, man? I think me and you had a lot of similar. I'm glad actually that I see it. I've seen that karma, man, and I believe so much in karma, and that's what draw or die is about. Like that's why we ban assholes from the group and stuff like
Hmm.
that because karma is real. I tell people, man, karma is real, and I'm not gonna say any specific stories, but yeah, I've seen it in the industry where
Hmm.
where this asshole is just a total asshole, and you see it all fall down apart, and then everybody's like, dude, I'm not talking to you. Like
Hmm.
you were just talking shit about everybody else. Like
Right.
I'm not gonna help you find a job, and it's just common sense, man. Like, and it's not so much about that. It's just be a nice guy, like help people out and stuff like that. Um, there's no reason to be an asshole. Like,
I am. I am gonna say this, and to anybody who might be watching this in the future, um, like a lot of us become very focused on our personal development, and I've seen this happen so many times. And we become so stressed out about our own personal journey that we forget to look around and slash or look behind. And I think that's a really bad thing, right? Because it's so much more flavorful and nice if you like take an hour out of your day or half an hour or whatever and drop some critique, do a review, talk to somebody who needs your help, and it's really gonna it's gonna make you feel better first off. And of course, there's this other byproduct of it where if you help people who are starting out, you will never ever forget the basics. Like never, because you keep reminding them, you keep repeating them for people. I remember the demo on perspective that I must have done like I don't know, cause like in my own apartment, I had like a total of 150 students, and then there were the ones online. So I must have done the perspective demo like 50 or 60 times by now. I will never ever forget that that demo. You know what I mean? And I'll never forget how to use perspective. So just practice with them and like work with them and share. It's just uh, you don't need to be so caught up in your own personal development because there's definitely more to gain for your art and your soul if you do it with people who need. a hand. So just give him a hand. I remember when I started out, I was like 17, 18. I would have killed, like, dude, I would have committed murder to spend like 1 hour with Marko Djurdjevic or Andrew Jones and just ask them questions. Just 1 hour, and then I could go to jail. Like, that's it. I know this question was posted, right, since I'm here, about my early influences. Or I'll let you get to them.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask you too. Who were your early influences when you were coming up? I think ever since the conceptart.org days, like who were those influences for you?
Right. Well, it's kind of nice. I have this big smile on my face when I remember that time, because in all reality, it was the beginning of digital art somehow. It was the early days of digital art. It was the age of graphite tablets and stuff like that. So I used to follow some of the people who, you know, I see them as some of the forefathers of our current way of doing stuff digitally. Like the guys from Steambot Studios, um, who a lot of them back then were in Ubisoft, like David Levy, uh, Sparth.
Sparth.
Sparth alone created so much innovation and development in the digital world, like custom brushes. What? Brush sets, custom shapes. What? What
Yes,
is this
Sparth is a
magic?
beast, man.
Right? Like they pushed it so hard, and of course the whole Massive Black Gang, Koro for me was like a god amongst men,
You know he's
still to this day.
he's from my hometown.
Oh man, I love him so much, dude.
Yep.
And like, uh, yeah, like he's so close to my heart as well, because at certain points in time we were both, homeless for a while. So like, I totally get a lot of the stuff that he paints about in his Transient series. So yeah, it's definitely, and a lot of the Massive Black guys. Like when I started out, yeah, it was Marko Djurdjevic, it's drawing God, and like Andrew Jones painting God, and like they had like it was like the Real Madrid of art, just the biggest talents back then. Um, and other influences from then, whew, uh, people like Matthias, Yana,
Yeah,
Yana Shermer. I was incredibly inspired by her
monster.
path, and that's a sketchbook that people need to see, man. Like
Yeah,
Yana's sketchbook needs to be seen, because it's crazy. You'll see thousands and thousands and thousands of hands and bodies and like legs that are bad and bad and bad. And then people are like, "Oh my God, how do you know anatomy so well?" Just go back and look at the thousands of bad drawings. Um, so yeah, I think those were my biggest inspirations when I started out. Um, and by that time, I think the only Romanian artist who made it big in that time was Daniel Dociu, the art director from Guild Wars. So he was a massive influence, just because I was checking out Romanian artists as well. So yeah. Now, but in time, your influences change a lot.
So
Very, very
who are
much.
your influences now?
Oof. Now, I'm just incredibly humbled and inspired by people like even Mel Admussen, and like Esben Lash, and
Espen Lash,
Mike
that
Esben.
that
Yeah,
girl.
no, Esben.
I know who Espen is. I'm
Oh,
kidding.
yeah, right.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Espen's a fucking monster, dude. I love that guy too.
Yeah, and Mike Azevedo, PK Mike. Uh, mm, Nick Jindral. The guys from Ubisoft, which I sort of kind of vitalize a bit, like Martin DeChambeau. You have Jeff Simpson with the characters, and he's incredible, and like Raphael, of course. So yeah, I think these are some of my main influences today, and I have a couple of lesser known concept artists, at least for the young generation. People like Dermot Power, um, and I don't know, a lot of people for different things. But I just love getting inspired by, I would say, the youthful exuberance and the loveliness of people like Even and Mike and Esben. They're pushing it so hard, and they're having a complete blast while doing it, and it's just really inspiring to watch. Watching their path just kind of makes you want to do it too. So yeah, and for 3D, of course, because I gotta mention it now since I'm doing it a bit. My man Furio Tedeschi and Justin Gobi.
Justin. And just to put out, Espen is a fucking super awesome guy. Like that's the like the guy to look at. Like he's just so humble and so nice. I don't know if you got a chance to talk to him, but he is just the nicest guy, man. Like he's just so nice. So
No, we haven't hung out yet, but I'll try to make it happen because yeah, I'd love to to have a call and just spend some time. I hung out with a lot of people, like Even as well. Like we finally met face to face with Even and Mike and Justin and a lot of people in Croatia last year for the IFCC workshop. And Furia too. It was jam packed of really nice people. So yeah.
that's cool, man. So we talked about inspirations and your current inspirations, and this is definitely like I think one of the most realistic. And that's the cool thing about like interviewing people that I'm kind of cool with. Like, it's not that awkward. Like that awkward interview. Like, so it's like I could just talk to you. Um, but we'll talk about the question that always gets asked. What was the best piece of advice anybody ever gave you? Like the one that was like, okay, that's the best.
Ah, shit. Man, yeah. This one's putting me in a rough spot. Um, the best piece of advice. No, I can't say this now because I'm trying to be a proper educator. Um, okay, I'm gonna say it. Fuck the haters. That was the best advice I got when I was starting out. And I had people around me constantly bashing my stuff and telling me that I'm never going to do it, telling me that there's no market, there's no need, there's too few jobs, that it's a fierce competition, and all that stuff. And then my best advice at that point that I got was don't listen to any of that. Just do it. Just do it. That's it. That was by far the greatest advice I got back then.
Fuck the haters.
Fuck the haters.
So what kind of hate were you? Now I'm gonna get personal. What kind of hate were you getting? Like hate, like people commenting on your stuff, or like
Oh man,
or just
I
like
got
friends that were being dicks, or
I got all flavors of hate. Uh, because okay, here's the thing about me. Like I was always hardcore. You know what I mean? Like draw or die. Like that's it. I'm gonna do this. Like no no bitching, no weakness. I'm not. What, you're tired? What? No, just keep going. Like the hardcore stuff that we were talking earlier, right? The suicide stuff.
yeah.
Like I was always like that, and because of that, it was stemming from my life because I had a horrible life. You know what I mean? and I was struggling to get out of it and to get to a better place. So for me to get to that better place, I had to like climb some really steep mountains, and I couldn't have any weakness. So I just had to like keep going hardcore. And basically, I would spread this philosophy of going hard to all the people around me. But as you probably know by now, not everybody is receptive to the hard love, right? Not everybody wants to go ultra hardcore, and so for me, I had a lot of moments where people just didn't react well to my way of like I would be like a drill sergeant on my live streams. You know what I mean? Like I would have people like at 4 a.m. I would have people like saying, you know what, I'm tired, I'm gonna go to bed, and I'd be like, no, you spend just 20 more minutes, just 20 more minutes, we'll do it, and then we'll all go to bed. I'll shut it down, and we're all gonna go to bed. And I'm sure some people might remember these times, but they were just incredibly difficult moments in my life, and I was basically trying to paint my way out of that and reach a better place. And not everybody was as receptive to my hardcore way of being. You know what I mean? I was just a very noisy fly. So it just got to a point where I guess people couldn't ignore me anymore. Um, but yeah, like for example, just a random example, when I got hired by Ubisoft, somebody anonymously made a thread on Reddit, and they posted like I think one of my worst paintings that I have on the internet, and they were like, Ubisoft hires SICKBRUSH. They've completely lowered their standards.
Wow.
Just anonymously. You know.
Why would you do that? Like, that's so fucking petty, man. But anyway. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know, but and again that same advice came to my mind. Just ignore it, just do your thing and keep being nice. And sometimes it's rough to be nice, but you gotta keep at it and just keep working hard. And eventually it gets to a point where, if you get hate, it means you made it, right? So yeah, if you get hate mail, it means you made it. So that's it.
Bad attention is good attention.
Well, all attention is attention. But
That's
but yeah,
horrible.
yeah, people will do that, and I used to be very rough around the edges. It took me a couple of years to kind of mellow down and be more open towards different approaches. Because it was just my way or the highway. Just work until exhaustion, and that was the only way. Everybody else was slackers. So yeah.
Yeah. That's a sad reality though. That's everywhere in life though. It's that the bucket full of crabs effect. I don't know if you've ever heard that before. It's like if you have a bucket full of crabs and one of them tries to climb out, like another one will hold on to them, and then another one will, and they're just trying to pull you down, and that's not the way it should be. I think we should help each other and be happy for each other. Like I have so many friends that right now are getting hired and stuff like that. Like it, and I'm so proud of them and so happy for them, and that's the way it should be. Like you shouldn't feel like I think envy is such a bad thing. Like I think be happy for them. You're not if you're not getting to wherever you want to go. It's not the other person's fault. It's your fault.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a big thing. It's like it's the whole argument of X or Y person will come and take my job. No, man, no, that's not gonna happen. It's you're gonna lose your own job if you're not doing it right, or you're not gonna get that job if you're not working hard enough for it. That's it. It's not because somebody else better came and took it, because you could be as good as that person and then take it for yourself. But yeah, it happens, and it's hard it's hard to not be envious. I mean, it's a very human trait. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you're envious. You're just, you're downright jealous, and that's normal. But you can be positive jealous, instead of being nasty jealous. Like, you can talk to the person and be like, "Oh, you bastard, you got it, bro. Well done," And sure, you've you've gone and flushed the jealousy out of your system, and you can go back to working hard, and then you can look at that person and see, okay, why is the person there and not me?
Yep.
And look at it objectively and detach yourself from feelings and try to understand where you could do better to improve yourself.
It's like Brad Rigney talks about. I don't know if you've seen his
Yeah,
DVD talking about the dark side of art, and yeah, like this is coming from like one of the best fucking illustrators right now that's out there. Like, he talks about using that anger, maybe a little bit of jealousy that's inside of you as a positive, as a positive thing, and using that to push you instead of hate the person that's just doing what you should be doing. And that's just a dumb way to think of things. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I came up, and people that know me from back then when I was streaming, like, they know they know the struggle. Like,
It's real.
I would eat I would eat like a bread in 3 days, So, like, of course I was angry, like, and I always thought that my anger was the biggest fuel that I had to, like, keep me going. But it wasn't aimed at people, it was aimed at just the situation. Like, I wouldn't let it get to people. So it was just like a realization, like, this situation is terrible. It sucks. I need to get out of it, and create a better place for myself. So just keep grinding, that's it.
Mm. So before we start asking the questions from people, I've heard you say this, and now I'm interested because I don't know. I don't know. Like, I haven't. You've never told me about this. You said you had a rough. I don't know if it's childhood or upcoming, but you said you had it rough, and then you said that, like, Coral, you were homeless. So now I'm wondering, like, what did you go through? Like, what was it? If you don't mind me
Uh,
asking, like, you don't have to be too specific, but now I'm curious, like, because there's a lot of people that say they have it rough, that say they're going through this or that, and it's like, dude, you don't know what hard is a lot of times. Like, there's people that are going, like, I'll say this about Brad Rigney, like, the guy went through a lot of shit, and it's like, dude, you don't know what you have until you see somebody else that has literally fucking gone through hell, and then you're like, holy shit, this guy's doing this, and I'm complaining because I have a part-time job, and like, so what did you go through? I'm wondering now.
mm,
This is where we get
well,
this is where we get personal, man. This is where we
yeah,
get personal.
yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, I talked about it. I've talked about it before. It's just like, I don't know, like, mm, my parents kind of split, and then neither of them was around too much or at all. So I just kind of had to, like, grow myself up with my sister, pretty much. Uh, so yeah, it was definitely rough. We didn't have anything. We didn't have a home. Like, it was pretty crappy childhood from a certain age onward. I guess from like 12 or so, it got super nasty. Um, so it's kind of somewhere in the middle of being, like, just, you know sort of orphan, sort of homeless, and I had a couple of months of just being on the street. When I moved here, like, didn't really have a place to stay, so, like, yeah, it wasn't the best times. Like, it was winter, and that didn't help. Like you had to find warm places to sleep in, and you had to like dodge, shady characters and try not to get sucked into, the street life, I guess. Uh, Keep away from like dealing drugs or whatever. Um, so yeah, like I would just pretty much drag myself up by just drawing, and kind of doing like portraits for people, uh, really really bad portraits and stuff. But yeah, I would do those and like get paid, and I'd split the money, get bread, buy some food, and then buy more paper and tools. And then eventually, I got spotted, and um, met some people, which eventually led me to my first job here. So yeah, it was yeah. There were some definitely some rough patches, um, but I guess my takeaway from it is uh, like sure it was it's horrible. Like I don't I don't wish it on anybody. Uh, but at the same time, I think it's taught me so much. So I'm actually thankful for it. Like I learned a lot of politics and like a lot of I guess diplomacy from being there, and just the value of money and the realization that one day you can wake up and then everything just goes to crap. So at that point, the only thing that's going to matter is how much work you've put up to that point and how quickly you can recover from it. So I've learned a lot from it. So I don't really think I'd be anywhere close to where I am today if it wasn't for all that preppy stuff. Yeah.
Life lessons, man.
Yeah, really hard learned rough life lessons. Like yeah, I'm kind of keeping it loose. Like you can see, like I'm trying not to go too specific, but yeah, a lot of bad stuff happened out there. Like I got stabbed and shit like that. So,
God
you know,
stop.
yeah, like it gets crazy. It gets crazy, but it doesn't matter. It's all for the good, and it definitely humbles you. And that's a big point. Like it makes you realize that. Uh, when it's all stripped down, like you're no better than somebody else. You're you're just another person, and that's why helping other people out is like such a big part of what I do, and like I try to spend as much time as I can doing it, just because it feels nice to give back, and you never know how life twists it around, and like I've been helped so many times, so it just feels natural to help other people out.
Yeah, that's
but
true,
yes but yes I did have to swim for the crappy river.
man.
It's true.
That's not fair. I'll go ahead and say say my story. Yeah, I didn't have the greatest childhood either. Since you put yourself out, I think it'd be kind of fair for me to put myself out, and I think we share a lot in common, man. Like I mean, shit, so much. I didn't even know. Like I've known you for like I don't know, like 2 3 years, maybe 2 years, and I had no idea that we had that much in common. But yeah, man. Same for me. My parents were never married. Actually, I think my dad. I think I take that from him. Growing up, uh, he was probably a slut, like I was, and they had me not legitimately. So they never married, and my mom was never there for me. So this is where we like start playing the sob story song. But I didn't have it. I didn't have it good. I didn't have a good upbringing. Bringing. I didn't have a support system. It was just me and drawing and just me telling myself, like maybe someday, I can do something good. And it's not easy, when you don't have support and stuff like that. Like it's something different, and it teaches you that being resilient and being strong and believing in yourself is such a big thing, because sometimes you won't have people believing in you, and you kind of have to believe in yourself,
Yeah,
and that's what you have to do. And
that's
and and that ties into the fuck the hater shit. Like,
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That brings you back to the greatest advice of all time. Uh,
so yeah, man, like just do you, like whatever you're going through, like, and that's what the draw or die thing is about, and that's how it all started with Joffrey from now, but
mhm.
back then he was just Joffrey. Now he's Joffrey
Yeah, Riot.
from Riot. Yeah, so,
Yeah.
and that's my man, and it's awesome, like, people like that helping other people, and all of us helping each other, and you doing this interview, like that's what it's about. And so, yeah, be nice to everybody. You don't know what everybody's going through, and help everybody out. That's it's a
Oh
big
yeah,
deal.
definitely.
Big deal.
Uh, I'm glad. I'm glad you. First off, thanks for sharing all that. And yeah, we gotta keep talking. And like, I'm glad you mentioned resilience because I really hope that people are aware of this. Um, First off, no, like, not everybody makes it. Like, this is something that very few people talk about. Everybody praises, especially if they're like educators, they'll be like, coming, learn, and grab your dream job, and like, you know, come be one step closer to your future. No, like, not everybody makes it, and usually some people just don't make the cut. And resilience is, in fact, I think, one of the strongest assets that an artist needs to have. Um, the willingness to change, the willingness to learn, to like practice hard, and go through the motions because it is going to take a while. That's why I keep saying, that it's a marathon and it's not a race because it doesn't matter how fast you get there. It just matters to get there and stay there. Like, um, resilience is a big key, and just understanding that it is a difficult task. I think there is an abundance of people uh, hovering hovering over less jobs. So yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult to make the cut, but if you keep going, then that really improves your chances. So I think putting together, all the stuff we've talked about so far, you know, is is a couple of steps closer uh, to getting it. And in terms of like what you said about your story and stuff, like I really hope that eventually I'll be able to have appropriate channels and opportunity to put together all these stories, maybe through a book or something. But like, I really, I've kept, that's one of the reasons why I kept my story and my development so public, is because I wanted people who have a bad situation, people who are like in the middle of it right now, to be able to look at a person and say like, all right, so you can get out, you can definitely climb out of it. So yeah, that's why I urge people not to delete their old stuff, and like to be honest about about stuff. I hate asking professionals like how did they become professionals, and getting like political answers. Like, no man, just say it. I worked my butt off. Okay, thank you. Like, that's it.
The secret ingredient.
Yeah.
So good stuff. But I think so far this is my favorite interview, because we talked about. I mean, you were so open about shit, and this has been my favorite interview so far.
But you shouldn't have
Yeah,
favorites, my
yeah, I
friend.
shouldn't. I shouldn't because maybe I'm getting better at them. I don't know. Maybe it's just getting. It's just the flow is coming out right, and it's not about a favorite. It's just like the topics and stuff like that. There, I obviously I like all of them, but I like how we dug into like the meat of stuff and like how it's just like so many things that people think and don't know, and it's like, oh shit, like when you really look at the behind the scenes picture, it's like, oh, people might know who Christian is, like they just see his art but they don't know the story behind it. Like there's a lot of shit that people go through, and that's what these interviews are about. Like that's what I want to put out. Like it's cool to see like all these interviews with people drawing and, oh, check this out, and it's like, no dude, like what did you go through, like what's the struggle. And like Carla Ortiz was saying, like the struggle is real, and that's
Hmm.
it's true, man. Like that's, I love that. Like I love that. I love
Yep.
seeing that. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and open up the question. Well, not the questions from the chat yet. We're close
Hmm.
to shit. We're close to like 2.5 hours. What time is it right now for you? It's like you said
Oh, it's
seven.
fine. It's 9 p.m.
It's
Yeah,
like 9.
it's all good. It's
Okay,
all good.
cool.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and I'm getting all these phone calls. Hold on one second. I'm gonna pop it open. Okay, here we go. Um, from Jen Walden, we'll just like go. We already answered Alex Petros's question about inspirations. Jen Walden says, have you ever applied for an art job even though you didn't think you were qualified? Did you get feedback upon rejection? Did you ever get an art job by doing that?
uh, yes, I did apply to our jobs. Um, I have a couple of golden rules. Like, uh, for example, if there's a company that I like a lot, right? And I'm just gonna flat out say this. Like, I really want to do some Magic cards at some point, and I have not applied yet because I just don't feel like I'm there yet, and because it's such a specific place slash company, I don't want to make a bad impression, a bad first impression, if that makes any sense. So I'm just kind of waiting a bit. Um, but in general, like it's hard to tell when when you're way below. I think many eons ago, I've applied to GameLoft uh, for a concept art spot, and I got rejected. And I think I got rejected on a fair, assessment. Like I really wasn't good. Um, I don't think I was good enough to make it in, and I was sort of aware of it because I realized how much trouble I had during doing the test at home. You know what I mean?
Uh huh.
While I was doing the test, I was realizing that this is really pushing me. You know what I mean? So if this is what I have to do every day, like I got a lot of catching up to do. But then when the Game Loft art director, when he gave me the news, I said, when he said, we're sorry, we don't think you're ready yet and stuff. I said, listen, man, I'll never forget this. I said, you need me here because here's the thing, like I work, like I paint. Uh, Around that time, I was painting between 18 and 20 hours every day. And I said, I paint like 18 to 20 hours every day. And like, I am going to reach this level fairly soon. And then we'll surpass it. And wouldn't you rather have me here when that happens?
That's
that
that's
was my, huh?
that's
that was my,
that's
yeah,
real
sorry.
though.
That was my idea of pitching myself at that point, because I was like, there's nothing to lose. They already said no, so I'm like, huh? I will get better. Like I really will. And he said, no, I'm sorry. Fast. Listen, dude, karma, right? Fast forward, last year in Croatia, I met the guy, and I was there as an instructor, right? So I just kind of look at him and I'm like, I told you, man. Told you, man. Did you like my speech? Like, it'll happen. I tried, but yeah, I did apply, and I didn't get in. Looking at the grand scope of things, I can't say I'm sorry because, I don't know. I've been led through life to a good place, so I don't know if it would have been better or worse. You can't know. But yeah, I did, and usually I tried to be overqualified when I applied to a job. That's one of my problems that some of my friends pointed out. I wait too long because I want to be sure that I get it, and that's happened sometimes. It's a nice thing to hear when you get hired. When people say, you know what, well, you're overqualified for this job. It's a nice thing to hear, but then you're also like, huh, so I could have come here sooner, you know? But apart from that, I don't know. I generally like to be as sure as I can, because you can never know absolutely for sure. But I like to be as sure as I can that I'm going to get a job when I apply to it. And that includes all the prep work that we were talking about earlier, like getting to know the company, the people that work there, what they need, and all that stuff. So, yeah, do your prep work.
That's good shit. So, next question. Jessica YC asked if you remember the little people. She said from the streams years ago that you were just talking about. If and how often, when, where do you stream now? I don't think he streams that much. You don't stream it. I can't remember.
What's the name?
Jessica YC.
Okay, yes, I do remember. Did she ask me if I remember
The little
people from? Okay, Jessica is just her username on my live stream was Jessie Jellybean.
Oh shit! Shit!
This is from like 6 years ago, dude. But I remember everybody in my live stream.
Or like
90% of people. If you ever talked, I probably remember you. And Jessie Jellybean, when she joined my live stream, she was the record holder for being the youngest person on the live stream, and I think she was 13 or 14 when she first joined my live stream. So yes, I remember.
This is where like, do you remember the little people? And Christian's like, dude, I remember your fucking username, and this is like the reaction.
What the hell? Is that your phone, dude?
Yeah, that's the reaction, and that's great, dude. Like, and that's the type of guy that you are, though. That's what I love. Like, you're so good, dude. I love that, and that's awesome. Yeah, I don't think people forget. I think what people misunderstand is that it's not forgetting; it's that you get busy and people get busy, and you kind of have to know that. And like I was telling you earlier, like I haven't talked to you in forever, and it's like, no, I know you're busy, dude. You know, like I know you've been busy, so um, I I want to tell people that like don't think people are assholes because they don't talk to you anymore or because they're too busy. Keep that in mind. A lot of shit goes on, so just keep that in mind for people. But on to the next question from Sandra Hansen. She said, "Oh, same question I gave you. What's your best advice for someone who wants to try to make? Oh, it's kind of different. What's your best advice for someone who wants to try and make a living from art?"
Um, hmm. If you're trying to make, here's the thing, if you're gonna make the step into becoming a freelancer, I would say have a second job. If you wanna become a freelancer, I would say, unless you're very good, I think my best advice would be have a job that pays your bills properly and feeds you, and then do freelance as well. And then when you get to the critical point where freelance gives you more money than that job, then you can start to think about quitting it, right? But don't just jump in, okay? And another thing is try to look for long-term collaborations with your clients, and don't look at, you know, we call it striking the cannon in Romania. It's like a saying. When you strike the cannon, it means you get like a boom, where somebody calls you at 3 a.m. and you're like, you got to paint this thing for me. You have only 4 hours, and oh my God, I'm going to give you like $1,000, but like, you need to do it. Like, that's a cannon, right? You do it, you get paid, that's it. Fire and forget. But if you want to be like a freelancer, you need like a constant, steady stream of cash coming in, so you're always able to pay your dues. So I'd say look for that in particular. If you're looking for a full-time job, I think, we've covered this a lot, all the portfolio stuff and everything like that. So yeah, just take it slow. Take it slow. Take it slow.
Take it slow. So, okay. On to the next question. We have a few more from Cassandra. She says, what helps you when it comes to designing mechanical props like vehicles? Do you do studies of certain things? What is especially helpful when creating vehicles from the imagination and trying to create something that feels new?
Mm. Well. Sorry, I'm just gonna. Yeah, I saw a small thing pop up in the chat. Random green button. Yeah, that was exactly the same thing that happened to me when I quit my first concept job. It's exactly the same thing. Right. So about mech stuff, it's the last thing that I learned. I think it's the most recent interest. So I'm still fairly new to it in a way. I kept it in my study loop because we talked about studying and stuff, and I always wanted to be a generalist, so I would study everything in different days of the week, from anatomy to like mech and environments and all that stuff. Because when I was little, I thought game artists, like game concept artists, need to know how to draw everything. So that's what I try to learn. It didn't really work out for me. But yeah, in terms of mech, you just kind of need to look at machines, like sort of. I wouldn't say no engineering, but just some little basics. Things like, wheels need to be connected unless they're floaty. They need to have suspension. Just little, super tiny, basic stuff that can help you a lot when you're designing vehicles. And in terms of making them look new, well, I don't know, because that goes into a completely different realm of how do you make original stuff, and like we're gonna be here next year still talking. So, like, in terms of making it look new, I don't know. Just try wacky combinations. It's something that I enjoy doing a lot. Like the image that's up on the stream right now of the hover train. Like, I don't even think it's a new idea. I think many people have done it before, but it was the first time I did it, so it was new for me. And I just tried playing around with it, even though the actual pods are from the Matrix, like the Nebuchadnezzar had those pods. But still, it's if it's a challenge for you, then just go through it, and try out different things. Try to combine different machines. And what I studied was I would just go to like Tumblr and Pinterest and look for boards with just mechanical stuff, random, like engines and airplanes and tractors and whatever, and just draw them. So yeah, it kind of teaches you the shape language that's kind of specific to machinery. So that's really helpful. And of course, you should check out like tutorials from other people. I know there's a bunch of really good gumroads and stuff talking about vehicle design and machine design. You should check out like Scott Robertson and Ben Mulrow and like Vaughan and Mike Jelinek and a bunch. Oh yeah, Kemp Remillard. Just look for artists that do the same thing as well. So yeah.
Good shit. Kemp's good. All right, from Benedict. I'm horrible at pronouncing your last name, but I know it's Benedict Gerhofer. Gerhofer. He's Austrian. He's Austrian.
Guy at Hofer.
Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Say that again. One more time.
I think it's Geierhofer.
There you go. He asked a bunch of other questions that I think we already answered, but the first question I wanted to ask too, which is good. How do you deal with stress, like stressy? He says stressy situations, but how do you deal with stress?
Oh, I don't. I drink.
There's a quote in the Six More Vodka studio. I don't know if you've seen it. It says, uh, men fight wars to survive, and they drink to forget them. I think that is like such a good fucking quote. And you would figure with a name like Six More Vodka, it makes sense.
Yeah. But do you know the story of that name?
I think they were at they were at a party and they were ordering drink. I can't remember. It's something like that.
Yeah. It was the whole Massive Black Gang, and they all asked for like a beer. And Marco was like, "I'll just have 6 more vodka." Right. So basically, no, but for real, like this is a legitimate unhealthy answer. If the stress levels go up like super duper high, I grab my closest friends and we just get smashed. And then when we're completely drunk, we start talking about those problems. Sometimes we'll cry, and then it's off your chest. You know what I mean? Like, that's it. We understand each other because obviously we're all drunk, so we're like, a sober person listening wouldn't understand a single word, but we're like perfectly fine understanding each other, and we all just kind of, take turns in like talking about what's bothering us, and it helps. I'm sorry, like it's you wanted truth, right? So there you have it. We just get drunk and we talk about it. But in other terms, like if it gets stressful, I just do things that release stress for me. Like I'll play some board games, or I'll do some Lego, or I'll play some video games, or I'll go out and I'll take a walk. Just generally disconnecting helps. I think that's a good thing. And if you're trapped in like a stressful situation at work, for example, like when you're in crunch, and you have like some really tough deadlines on you, I make lists a lot, and they help immensely for me. Like just classic, like a grocery list of things that I need to do on a piece of paper, just one by one, and then I take them all one by one, because usually stress comes when you're like overwhelmed by things you need to do. So then I just say one at a time. Let's take a step back, just solve the first one, go to the next one, and so on. So that's kind of how I deal with stress.
So lists. You said lists work. Yeah, I'm not a list person, but they do help me when I do make them. It makes sense.
Yeah, I make them all the time.
Joffrey was just talking about that. So I think that's all the questions we had. And then all the other ones we've kind of already answered. So if you guys have any questions, I know there was a few, but we already answered them in the chat. If there's any questions that you guys wanna post in the chat, feel free before we wrap this up. And I guess as we're wrapping it up, guys, if you have any questions, go ahead and post them, and then I'll go ahead and ask them. I'll ask you while we're waiting for questions. What is? Huh?
Sorry, what?
No. What?
Go
What?
ahead.
I was gonna ask. I'll ask you a question while we're waiting for people to ask
Okay.
questions. What is your end game? Like I know you're a senior concept artist at Ubisoft right now, but what do you eventually? Obviously, you're not gonna quit Ubisoft right now, but eventually, what do you want to do? What are your plans? Do you plan on doing anything like an
Mm,
IP, or eventually do whatever it is you're planning on doing?
right. Well, to start with Ubisoft, like for now, I I see no reason to leave. You know what I mean? It's just such a really cool place, and I'm learning heaps from it. Uh, I feel like there's so much room for improvement, within myself, while being there. So it's a good place, so right now, I'm good where I am. And in terms of like the future, ah boy, that changes too in time. So I used to have some plans. Now I think about them, they don't feel as important as they did, and that's just aging. Uh, I'm turning 30 this year. That's spooky. So, but yeah, there I have some objectives within Ubisoft, like that I'm trying to aspire to. Um, since, like I said, there's definitely room for growth there. Um, and outside of it, like I have some ideas for personal IPs. Like I have some stuff in the works. I keep working on this ridiculous book that I don't think I'll ever finish. So, in my opinion, one thing that I want to do a lot is do a children's book at some point. Because I have like this whole personal theory about it. I want to do that eventually, and then you know what? Like I'm keeping it open. Like I want to kind of let myself be carried by opportunities and just see where I end up. Like I don't have a hard, pin of a place that I want to go to or stuff like that. I don't have like other companies targeted or like stuff like that. Um, so for now, I think my future plan is to get really good at what I do and to understand more of this whole painting thing and this whole art and imagination stuff, and that's about it. And I want to finish painting my goddamn living room. That's that's a future plan. Yeah, and as a small note, of course, as you can probably imagine, Ricky, it's because of the situation from my past. A tangible goal is for me to eventually buy a house, or a flat or an apartment or whatever, something with my name on it. So that's a big goal.
Yeah, that's good shit, man. Good stuff. On to the next question from the chat. Now we're going on to the chat, guys. We're taking questions
Jesse.
from McChaney, M. Cheney, Sean Cheney. What if what if any room is there? Okay, is there any room for traditional artists? That's what he's asking, and I'll go ahead and say
Uh,
that there is, but for concept art for video games and movies, go ahead.
well, here's the thing. It depends how masterful you are at it, like how good you are at it, and it depends on the company too. I think if you think about Bethesda, right? They had Adam Adamovitz, who would, I think 90% of his stuff was traditional. He would be like locked in a room and like draw all the time with like Copic markers and stuff like that. But the dude was like a powerhouse, you know what I mean? So there is room for it, but I would say you kind of need the other one too. Um, if maybe if you're really good and you have like super amazing um, skill and imagination, then maybe you can get like attached to a team that already has like digital artists, so that can work out where you can be another one of the team. But apart from that, I'll say that I draw traditionally a lot at work, just because I'm more comfortable, especially if I have to do architecture. I'm just naturally more comfortable doing it on paper. So then I'll just do it on paper and scan it in. Like, uh, yeah, I think it's somewhere in the middle, but you should definitely pick up on your digital, and then learn to maybe use them together. You know. So yeah.
It's like I tell people that don't know anything about digital art. They're like, oh, you draw really good, like, and then I show them like, so how do you do it? I'm like, it's digital art, and they're like, oh, like right away that takes away the
Yeah.
credibility. It's like,
Oh yeah. No.
it's like no, 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 no. I draw the whole thing. Like I'll show you, and they're like, oh wow, so it's kind of like painting. I'm like, no, it is painting. It is. It's just nowadays, in today's world, it needs to be faster, and that's
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing that people need to realize. And I'm by heart traditionalist, elitist asshole, um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. So am I.
you're like, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So am I. Like, dude, if I paint for myself, I'm gonna take the time and paint like every inch of the canvas. With painful, slow brush strokes. If I'm at work and I'm part of like a production cycle, I just can't do that. Like,
yeah,
I need to be fast. So, and I'll say something that is probably slightly controversial. Um, you don't always need to be really that fast. um, like, like companies are fast paced, and you get a lot of tasks and stuff. But um, if you're in a working environment where you have more than one task per day, I'm gonna say that there's a big chance it's not being run properly. It's not being managed properly. Usually, I think the average speed is somewhere around 1 day per stuff that you do, and that's fast, but it's not as fast as some people push it to be. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I get the race for speed sometimes, and I know I used to race for it as well. But you'll be surprised if you look at if you see some people working who are super experienced. I swear, like I almost got really pissed and angry because I saw somebody like a super pro, right? He would work so slowly and so calm and super relaxed, and I'm like, what? Faster! What is this? The problem is, by working slowly, he would pay attention to what he did and like make no mistakes. So in the end, he never had to fix anything, and he would reach the same product a great painting, probably faster than the fast guy who has to constantly repair stuff that he's messing up because he's going too fast. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
So in a way, for some people, going slow, methodically, and carefully makes them faster in the end. So yeah, like try to find a balance, man. And I keep going back to this where you should try many techniques and different stuff, because you'll end up learning what fits you and where you're faster and more comfortable. And nobody is gonna come and say, if you're in a concept art job, nobody's gonna come and say photo bash, or don't photo bash. No, man, people are usually open to your own techniques. Just you bring, that's what you bring to the company, is who you are and like your way of doing things. And if the result is good, it's not as important how you got to it, So just find your way of working with things. I would say try to learn how to do decent paintings within 8 hours, within maybe 6 hours, maybe 4 hours. But I wouldn't go lower than 4. Like, I'll just flat out say it. I wouldn't go lower than 4 hours, because I'm not sure faster than 4 hours will be used.
Yeah. So that brings you up to I'm gonna next up is Jesse Jellybean's question, but I'll hit on the photo bashing, because I know I'm looking at one of your sketches right now, and there's obviously a lot of perspective, understanding, and like you don't photo bash for like the reasons because you're unable to do things. You photo bash for jobs to make things faster. I've actually seen you put some stuff together. Like I think you were working on this little house, like some sort of looked like a little environment for something, and you were using textures and stuff like that. But the under drawing of it was there. Like it was there. It was solid. Like you could have painted it yourself, obviously. So what I tell people in a group in the Hangouts is a lot of times these younger guys see photo bashing as like, oh, that's it, that's all I have to do, and I encourage people to learn the right way, because I think you'll pay off from it more than just straight up photo bashing. So what's your thought on that, photo bashing?
Well, that's why, in my opinion, I had like a huge laugh, and I thought Mr. Concept Art was the hero we deserved. You know what I mean? Because here's the thing, like, it's true. Like, yeah, what the drawings you're looking at now are obviously just drawings. Like, it's just a small brush and like just drawing. And this is something that de-stresses me, by the way. Like, because we talked about it, and like I know it's messed up as hell, but I like drawing stupendously complicated technical things to de-stress myself. Right. The thing is, there's this golden saying, around professionals, where you should lead the texture and not allow the texture to lead you. So when you're doing a painting, you should start by sketching it. You should start by establishing the composition and everything else, just as if you're going to paint it entirely, right? And then to speed up the process, as Ricky is saying, we photo bash and we use textures and stuff like that, and just on the fly using textures isn't regarded as photo bashing, as far as I'm aware. At least within video games, I don't think it is, because what I generally mean by photo bashing is one picture of a mountain to the right, one picture of another mountain to the left, and a picture of a valley in the middle. I think that's photo bashing. Texturing is more like you paint a rock face, you give it some values, and then you
Yeah,
use
texture.
a texture of a
Yep.
rock within it. That's texturing. Um, because texturing, even as a term, it comes from like the 3D world, where you have something that has no texture and then you apply texture to it. So um, I think the danger, as you pointed out, Ricky, is people need to understand that it's just a shortcut, and if you're bad at painting it, without photo bashing, then even the photo bashing is going to be bad. You can have amazing pictures, like perfect pictures, and in time you'll learn what good pictures for bashing are, with low contrast and stuff like that. Um, you can have perfect pictures and you put them together and they're still going to be bad, or the composition is still going to not work. It's still going to be unbalanced and stuff like that, or they're going to be blended in together very badly, very poorly, and that's just because you lack the basic abilities of painting. So I would say yes, you definitely should be practicing photo bashing and texturing and 3D and all these shortcuts. You should be practicing these when you're aspiring to have a job in the industry. But by all means, that should not be the only thing you do. Like keep your head on the basics all the time. And I believe, as a rule of thumb, in my humble opinion, uh, you should be able to downright paint anything you photo bash.
Yes, I agree
That's
with
my
that.
opinion. Like this 3D truck, right? If this was done it's obviously a 3D model, but if I had done this just from a bunch of photos, then I would want myself to be able to just paint it from scratch as well.
I think I
You
saw
know?
you working on this. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
probably because I worked on it forever. It was and it was painful. So yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
agree.
my opinion.
I agree. It's not so much like the elitist, like, oh, traditional. I mean, because it's hard to say something's traditional when you're doing it digitally. But I think it's not so much that artist journey, but I think it'll help you out. Obviously, more learning the fundamentals about things, and make you a stronger artist. So yeah, just so I'll put it out right now for the upcoming Ascensions. To obviously, because I want to make a book. I don't know if I told you about this, Christian, but I want to make a book for the upcoming Ascensions for next year. We're gonna put a
Hmm.
book together, kind of like Spectrum, and put a
Hmm.
book out. With the exception of you having to pay like $50 to submit your artwork, like Spectrum does. Uh,
Right, right.
we won't
So,
do.
basically self-funded.
Yeah, it'll be not self funded. Actually, we're gonna kickstart it, and put all the entries together, and publish as many people as we can. But um, one of the things I want to do is, one of the rules is no photo bashing, for the sake of people learning, and obviously we don't want to get sued um, if people are using stock photos and stuff like that.
Yeah, but you don't. You don't. As yeah, we'll talk about it. But
Well,
you don't get sued
you
just
don't
for
get
putting the.
you don't get sued. Well, no, I mean, mainly it'll be because I want people to learn, and I don't want.
Yeah,
Uh,
of course.
yeah, I don't, and
Sure.
that includes photo textures, which I love using photo textures, but it's gonna hurt me. Like, I'm kicking myself in the nuts for that, but that'll be a thing. And I think using all that sort of stuff comes in later down the road. But right now, for people starting out, I think focusing on painting everything yourself, and learning everything yourself is a big thing. So I'll just put that out right now for the people in the brief, and the brief should be out tonight. The first brief, which Alex Negrea will be judging the first challenge. I'll put that out since we're getting ready to wrap it up. Alex Negrea. Next is Betty Yang for February, and then it'll be who's up next? I have a horrible memory. Wilkins, Dave Wilkins is gonna be judging,
Uh-huh.
so he's pretty,
Nice.
yeah, he's pretty awesome. And then from there, I'm probably gonna get Suzanne to judge after that. So, and then I'll probably ask Christian here in this year to judge. It'll be cool. And then I want to feature the judges in the book too. If you guys want to be in it, like feature you guys' art and stuff like that. So I think it'd be cool, and that goes back to the helping out people. If I can harp back on that. Uh, I don't think paying people to publish your work is very helpful, but I think publishing people that are starting out and that are hungry is very helpful. And that's kind of what the book's about. So I'll put that out really quick, just like a little snip of what the hell we're doing with the group. So, yeah, so I haven't talked to you about it yet, Christian, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, we'll talk.
we'll talk about
Sounds
it.
great.
So, yeah, and we'll go ahead and ask the last question because we're like at 3 hours right now, dude. We're already at 3 hours. This is the best interview I think we've had. So good. Um, so let's see, where are we? Yeah, random. I have a few. Nope, that's not it. Okay, we'll ask Miss Play's question since that's what I'm looking at. Miss Play, do you think it's easier to find a job by specializing with one style, find your own style thing, or try a lot of styles and be more polyvalent or more flexible, I guess, or more
Mm-hmm.
versatile?
Um, I. Okay. Uh, God. Ah, so hard. Like, this is a tough one actually. I want to say, for the sake of the rest of your life, try to be versatile and try to learn more stuff. I just have this theory, like, okay, I'm sorry, like, I don't want to sound, you know, like I'm tooting my own horn, but I'm gonna use myself as an example here. Like, I always wanted to be a generalist concept artist because I thought that's the way to get into the industry. Is you need to be able to be moved around in the company even, because if you're in a big company, you're doing a project and you're doing something as a concept artist, and then the project finishes and you get moved to a next one, and then maybe the next project needs something else, right? So it's cool to be able to do it. Like, it makes you a more valuable asset. Uh, but also, like, because I had to go through the whole, big winding path towards concept art and going through like all the different aspects of graphics, I was able to keep myself afloat. For example, doing freelance for anything. Like, I go to the mall and I can see like packages of butter that I designed, or like chocolate packages that I designed. So I was able to do a bit of that, and then maybe a website, and then maybe like a commercial, and maybe paint some axe wounds for a Chinese horror movie, which I totally did. You know what I mean? Like, and maybe a bit of this, and maybe a bit of that, and that always, it kind of allowed me to throw the net very wide, and it kept me hired, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
um, by knowing to do more things, you increase your chance of constantly having a job. I think when you super specialize, you need to reach the uber top to be safe, because then you're that person that everybody goes to do that thing, right? Like, I'm going to say John Howe, right? forging dragons. Like, if you're doing Lord of the Rings, you're gonna talk to John Howe and you're gonna ask him to do some dragons, like, because he's the dragon father of all dragons, right? But unless you're aiming for that level, then I think it's good to keep yourself spread out. And I know some people asked around the chat, and we didn't pick it up, if I still do things outside of work nowadays. I still try to freelance. Like, obviously, there's things I can't do, just because, it's just natural through contracts. But I can still do, like, board games and card games and, like, book covers and all that stuff. So I try to keep myself doing that. And that's, another facet of what you can do. And learning how to do more things allows you to just, not get bored as well. You might be going to work and maybe, I don't know, drawing environments every day for like 8 hours, and then maybe you go home and you do some characters for like a card game, and it's a cool way to keep you interested and get some extra cash. Why not? So I would say learn more things. Don't spread yourself too thin, like I did, which I totally did. Like, don't spread yourself too thin, but try to learn more things, because eventually they come together. And even if it doesn't seem like, even if it doesn't seem so, they will influence each other and come together to who you are as an artist.
So
that was the longest sentence of my life.
So yeah, I guess it makes sense. Be versatile. Yeah, it does. It makes sense. It's better to be well-rounded than to not be. But I think at the same time, though, I've seen some artists that are just amazing. I think that's more for illustrators, though. The illustrator that's got his own thing and his own style. Like, I think either way, like, if you're busting your ass and you find something, if you find like that niche that you're really good at, like, I definitely push it if you strike something. But definitely for concept artists, it's good to be well rounded. Like, going through Christian's portfolio, it's like he's just got everything on there, and it's just smart, obviously, to do that if you're going for concept art.
I'm just gonna say that illustrators, by video game terms, they're like, illustrators are generalists, because they do characters and then they got to put them somewhere, so they do environment to put the character in, and then they do more environments, and the characters need to wear stuff, so obviously they do the whole design, the fashion design and stuff, right? So they are kind of generalists in their own sense, illustrators. And concept artists can sometimes, but you don't want to be the lamppost guy, like, not forever, at least, because if you think about it, if you remember Kekai, like, Kekai got hired to paint grass, like, he was like a ground texture artist for the longest time, so he was just like the ground texture guy until he made the transition to become a concept artist. So whatever gets you in, but once you're in, start moving around and learning more stuff, and take advantage of the place you're in and the people around you, and learn as much as you can.
Definitely.
And then give back.
Definitely. So I want to thank everybody for coming. This was a really good interview. It really was. And I've had like 3 beers since we've been talking.
I've had some wine.
Why did I know you were drinking wine? But anyway, yeah, guys, thanks for coming. And the brief should hopefully be out tonight. Like I was telling people, there was a lot of planning. It wasn't just like, oh, I'm gonna make up this brief for this brief. Like, it was 12 months of planning ahead, and not so much thoroughly planning, but it was like thinking, is this challenge, is this story, is this idea going to be somewhat fun? Is it going to be recognizable? Is it going to hit? Is it going to ring some bells for people? And I think that's definitely what I was going for, was ringing bells and having people a slight thing to shoot for. Um, and we're doing like just so people know, we're doing like a fairy tale, like with a touch of sci-fi. So like we're gonna have like just everything. And I was doing research. I've been doing research, and I found that there's this show. I forgot the name of it, but don't think it's anything like that though. It's gonna be like sci-fi, the sci-fi version of like Sword and Stone, mixed with, you know, Puss in Boots and like fucking Three Little Pigs, and you're gonna see Humpty Dumpty and all these characters that you'd never see in that light of the sci-fi and like a Game of Thrones, like gritty, dirty thing. And it'll be a lot of fun for people to illustrate and take on, and that's what the book's going to be about. We'll have people do like their own renditions of this crazy twisted character, and it's not really fan art. It's gonna be, your own twist, and unless people really dig into the story, like, oh, that's fucking Jack and the Beanstalk. So yeah, it'll be a lot of fun, and obviously we can't do fan art of things because we're gonna make this book, and we're gonna publish it and stuff like that. So I'm definitely gonna get with Christian and ask him and all the art directors. I'm really gonna push that help and that need to push people for specific things. So it'll be a lot of fun. So that's that, guys, because I know a lot of you guys have been messaging me about that, and a lot of you guys are mad at me for that. But there's a lot of planning, and that's the thing that we're talking about, like the whole the artist thing is selling it. Like I'm not only thinking about what's going to make the book cool, but what's going to make your portfolios look cool. And if you're drawing all these things and there's really no purpose to it, then it doesn't make sense. And the only reason why I want to make a story is because I've heard, I've never applied, nor I don't think I mean, I love video games, but I know continuity is a big thing for people, and when they see designs that follow a continuity, and they belong in that same realm, like that's really cool for art directors to look at. Like, oh wow, these characters all belong together, and
Yep.
it'd be a cool portfolio thing for you guys to do. So obviously, and then we'll have the book, and then you can have your work printed on a book. So that'll be that, and I'm really fucking excited. And I was scared to do it, to be the guy managing this whole thing, but somebody's got to do it, and I'll do it. I'll take the heat, and hopefully we'll start the website soon. And
All right, man.
so
We'll help with whatever we can.
yeah, and I'll bug you. I'll bug you about judging probably towards the end of the year, because I have a few people already lined up. I have yeah, I have a few guys I know from Pixar, and like just a bunch of guys that I think it'll be fun to throw in the mix. But yeah, thanks guys for coming, and Christian, thanks man. Like it was fun. I learned a few things that I didn't know about you, even though we've been talking for a while, and it was fun, dude. Thanks for your input, man. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me, and yeah.
Yeah, well,
If people still have questions, they can just send me a message directly, or just keep posting anywhere and just poke me and ask me, and I'll find the time to answer as best as I can. So,
Christian likes
right.
being poked. Um, but
With a pogo stick.
but yeah, definitely expect to see more from Christian in the group. He's one of the guys, and I'm thankful for the guys that are helping me out and you guys out, and we should definitely be appreciative of people like that are taking their time to do these kinds of things. So yeah, thanks again, man, and I don't know what we're gonna talk about in the next interview because we talked about a lot of shit, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah,
So,
we'll see. All
uh,
right.
all right, guys. Well, thank you so much for coming, and we'll see you guys. I think the next interview is gonna be with Jamaro Kindred from Blizzard, and then Dan Lovisi's still gonna give me his. He's been busy with the whole movie thing, so I gotta bug him about when we're doing the interview. And yeah, we'll figure it out. So thanks, guys. Thanks, Christian, for coming. So we'll
All right.
see you guys.
No
All
problem.
right.
Bye bye.
Later, guys. Bye. Take care. I'm trying.